So, the nonverbal behavior creates a divide between what we intend to communicate and what is actually communicated. My name is August Johnson. I'll be focusing on the intentionality attributions of mirroring behavior. I will discuss the effects of nonverbal mirroring behavior and how it can affect and shape the perception we receive from our interpersonal connections. I will first focus on a research study on nonverbal mirroring behavior, the contributions found in the study, and how it can apply this to the relationship I share with my roommate. In the article Mimicry or Synchrony, the effects of intentionality attributions of nonverbal mirroring behavior, I found that we mimic our relationships and behaviors, and this can affect the way we are perceived within our interpersonal relationships. This relates to the chapter in the textbook. This relates to the textbook in Chapter 2, Nonverbal Forms of Communication, Deceiving, Contradicting, Complementing, or Accenting, as well as Chapter 8's Deception of Omission and Commission, as well as Chapter 9's Passive Aggressiveness. The hypothesis, the first one states, intent within a nonverbal behavior will influence interactance judgment of a person's personality. The second hypothesis states, when nonverbal behavior is perceived to be intentional in initial interactions, feelings of rapport will be less than behavior that is perceived unintended. And the third hypothesis states, mirroring behavior that is deliberate will be read as sending greater relational messages of similarity and interest. The first hypothesis found that intentionally nonverbal behavior indicated increased judgment in an interactant's personality and overall competence. The second hypothesis found that nonverbal behavior, whether intentional or unintentional, did not change the level of rapport within the interaction. And the third hypothesis found that mirroring behavior that is deliberate with either positive or negative tones caused greater discomfort. I will now apply this to the relationship I share with my roommate. I feel as though our nonverbal forms of communication were rather poor. For example, when my roommate would cook me breakfast, I think I, at some point, non-verbally expected him to do this act for me every time. And in return, I received non-verbal, passive-aggressive remarks. This is just an example of how we have conflict in our relationship. But I feel a way to improve this conflict is just to speak verbally and address the kind of elephant in the room, the thing that's unnoticed. And that is noticed, but we would rather not talk about. And I feel like this would gradually improve the rapport of our relationship and lead to a better, healthier interpersonal connection. In this study, I focused on the effects of nonverbal mirroring behavior and how it can affect the perception we receive within an interpersonal connection. In this research study, I focus on the nonverbal mirroring behaviors we present, the contributions found in the study, and how I can apply this to the relationship I found with my roommate. To conclude, I believe that nonverbal communication is still the most important and is used widely today, but nonverbal communication does have its negatives. And I believe that if we focus more on our verbal messages and the intent behind it, when we focus on our interpersonal relationships, we will live happier, more fulfilled, and connected lives within our relationships that truly matter in our lives. Thank you, and I appreciate the time.